Hello guys, this is Mr. Cole. Welcome to our first video lecture. We'll have these posted hopefully before the start of each unit, so you can kind of go through before class and prepare on your essential questions. Although not really any essential questions today. This is just a very basic introduction to what government is, right? So what does government do, and what is government, right? So the very basics of government. Government is more than just what you see in Washington, D.C., right? It is the institutions that make public policy decisions for a society. So it includes Congress, the president, the court systems, all the government agencies, all the state and local governments and all their agencies, all the employees of those agencies, right? It is a huge amount of people and institutions. In fact, in the United States alone, there are over 80,000 different governments in the United States, and it's how we determine our public policy decisions that's going to happen, right? So it's more than just what you think of as the federal government. That's, there's actually quite a number more of local governments, and the state and then the federal are all the different various types of government we have in our country. Now, what does government actually do? What are their functions, right? So number one is maintaining a national defense. It does not really make sense for private companies to maintain a national defense, right? Because let's say we're being invaded by North Korea. It doesn't really make sense for, North Korea to be like, oh yeah, we're only going to protect Johnny's house because Johnny paid the bill for it. But Sally didn't pay the bill, so North Korea, go ahead and take over her place. That doesn't work, right? So the federal government provides the national defense. They also provide public goods and services. By the same logic, right, it doesn't really make sense to have only private-only roads, where every single road you go on, you have to pay a fee for, right? That'd be a chaotic type system, right? So there are certain public goods that need to be run by government, and the government runs those. The government also preserves order, right? Without government, we would have anarchy. We'd have chaos, right? And government provides that order in a system of laws and punishments. Government also is in charge of socializing the young, right? You don't really think about that, but education is a public endeavor in our country, and with that, government, kind of establishes what the culture of, a country is and how its young learn that culture. Right? I mean, I never really thought about the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, why do we start the school day with the Pledge of Allegiance? Well, the government tells us to, right? And it's part of that socialization, becoming American citizens. And then, of course, government collects taxes, right? In order to do all these things, you need tax dollars, okay? So that's what government is. Now, this class, though, is called American Government and Politics. So how does politics and government differ? Let's check that out. So politics determines who we select as our governmental leaders and what kind of policies they pursue. So government is the institutions, the people, and the policies. The politics is how we determine what those people and those institutions and those policies look like. Really kind of famous quote about what politics are. It's who gets what, when, and how, right? Politics is determining those questions, okay? So, Congress, right? Congress is part of our government. All the government agencies that they have established that carry out the law, okay? The politics, though, is which type of policies Congress pursues. That's politics, okay? Now, the people are, of course, involved in government and in politics. We are involved in politics through political participation. The idea is that all the activities that we try to influence the selection of political leaders and the policies they pursue. Things like voting, joining groups, protesting, petitioning, right? Even just consuming and watching media and debates is all part of our political participation, determining how, helping determine what policies are enacted by our government. That's kind of depicted here in this chart, okay? So the policy-making system starts with the people. Okay, the people are then linked to government through linkage institutions, things like elections, things like political parties, things like interest groups, which we'll talk about what those mean. Okay, now these institutions then create the agenda, right? They create what the political issue is going to be. Eventually, then it makes its way to the actual branches of government, the institutions, the Congress and president. Once it becomes a political issue, once they pass a law about it, then they have to come up with the policies, the how to carry it out, right? And then lastly, it ends up, of course, impacting the people. So at the end of the day, it's a circle that all starts and ends with the people. The people have a concern. They vote in that manner. Because they vote in that manner, an issue becomes part of an agenda, which then Congress and the president and the courts take up, which then creates a public policy, which affects us as people. Okay? So, with that, like I said, very basic introduction to what government is, but is a good little starting point for us. The government's more than just the people in Washington, D.C. Okay? All of us play a role in our government. Alrighty, I'll see you guys.